Joy News Prime.
From Fanofa Street here in Accra, this is Joy News Prime, your most comprehensive 2 hours of news on television in Ghana. Over the next 2 hours, we'll bring you the biggest headlines of the day, as well as business, sports, entertainment, our interactive segment, and international news. Accra High Court strikes out contempt suits brought by judges implicated in judicial corruption scandal against investigative journalist Anas Arumio Anas and others. 6 months after the interdiction of its Director of Human Resources in a police recruitment scam, the police administration says it is taking its time with investigations into the scandal and will not allow itself to be rushed.
And in business with me, Abigail Adumako, International Monetary Fund cautions Ghana and other emerging economies excessive borrowing could prove suicidal.
And President Mahama intervenes in Black Queen's bonus row and orders the payment of $5,000 each to members of the female soccer team. My name is Israel Lyon, and this bulletin is also available across Europe on ABN television. Stay tuned. An Accra High Court earlier today struck out a contempt application brought by Justice Paul Derry against journalist Anas Arumio Anas, 2 editors of the New Crusading Guide newspaper, and Suleimana Barima of the Media Foundation for West Africa. Justice Derry, one of 12 High Court judges captured on video allegedly taking bribes to pervert justice, wanted the 4 journalists and a media executive, Kwabena Anochia Disi, imprisoned. Kwachafri Nuyama has more.
It was a heated day in court as lawyers from the Attorney General's Department and legal representatives of the 14 judges attempted convincing the court on the merits of the case before it. First, Presiding Judge Gertrude Tokonu ruled on the contempt suit by lawyers for Justice Derry, High Court judge who's been implicated in the Anas Arumio Anas corruption scandal. The court dismissed the contempt application first on the basis of the fact that the lawyers for Justice Derry failed to appear in court. The judge again mentioned that as lawyers for Justice Derry had earlier withdrawn the suit seeking to prevent Tiger IPI from going ahead with the screening, it would be inappropriate for the court to cite Media Foundation for West Africa and the 4 others for contempt. After court proceedings, Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleimana Barima, said he was happy with the court's decision.
I was particularly uncomfortable if there was going to be any process that would eventually impose some sort of censorship on the work that had been done by Anas, and of course, if any journalist ever does the same thing. And so, well, there was a contempt case, and it's not about whether you're right or wrong. It's about somebody saying that, you know, you've disrespected the court. So it has nothing to do with whether the substantive issue is right or wrong. But I think I feel elated that at the end of the day, the matter has been struck out, and we'll continue to focus on what we can do to help journalism in the country.
On the application for interlocutory injunction on the committee sittings, the court again ruled that that application had no merit at all. The presiding judge, Gertrude Tokonu, again dismissed that application, saying it lacked merit. The court in its ruling mentioned, among other reasons, that the Judicial Council is performing a purely administrative function, and for that reason, the court cannot serve as a watchdog over the Judicial Council. Legal representative for the 14 judges, John Indebugri, however, disagrees with the court decision.
We don't agree with the decision, but so we are going to take further instructions from our client. Pardon me?
Consider
as you see, we act on instructions. The cases are not for us lawyers. The cases are for our clients. So we are now going to consult our clients, and then if they say we should appeal, we will appeal. If they say no, confident. So,
are you surprised by the decision of the court? You sounded very confident in your legal arguments in court and all.
You see, legal positions are normally opinions. And as I said earlier, the High Court is constituted by 1 person. There's a higher court, which is constituted by 3 persons. There's still yet a higher court, the highest court, constituted by 5 persons, sometimes 7, sometimes 9.
There are some, like former Deputy Speaker of Parliament Michael Quay, who think that this whole exercise is in futility, and in fact the court's decision today to those people may mean that you may go whatever length, you still hit the rocks.
Well, I don't want to discuss individual people's opinions. I've told you that in law we deal with opinions. That is Professor Mike Okwei's opinion.
Finally, the appeals court judge, sitting as an additional high court judge, struck out completely the application seeking to prevent the committee from holding its sittings at all.
In a related development, embattled High Court Judge Justice Paul Derry has petitioned the Chief Justice against the dismissal of the contempt case he filed against Anas Aremio Anas and others. My colleague Kwacha Freynuama has a copy of his petition and joins me in the studio with more. So what are Justice Derry's concerns?
Well, essentially he's saying that this case, this application for injunction, which was struck out by the court today, was not expected to be heard at all. In fact, when they filed the matter in court, the court fixed 12th October next month. And so it surprises them that the matter was heard in court and subsequently struck out, dismissed by the judge. But this is the petition, a copy of the petition that they've sent to the Judicial Secretary. They've copied the Chief Justice, as you mentioned earlier. They say that we wish to bring to your attention certain happenings in the case that we're talking about here that is of grave importance to the administration of justice and of the violation of the rights of their client, that's Justice Derry, to a fair hearing of his case in the High Court. And the point they make here is that, as I mentioned earlier, when the registrar of the Fast Track High Court had scheduled that this matter be heard on the 12th of October, and they even add some evidence to this, and these are court documents that they say proves that this particular matter was scheduled for that particular date. And this is a document the registrar of the Fast Track High Court has appended his signature to it, and you see the details here that the case was expected to be heard on the 12th of October. And the statement continues by saying that this came as an absolute shock to them, since the motion paper of the said case again was scheduled for this particular date. Furthermore, they say they are reliably informed by the bailiff responsible for the service of the application on the respondents, interestingly Israel, that the first, the second, the third, and the fourth respondents in this matter have not even been served at all, they say, and that none of the respondents have to date filed an affidavit in opposition to the application, which is normal procedure before the matter is even heard in court.
So what are they looking for?
They say that this is a clear violation once again, and that they want the Chief Justice to investigate what they think is an anomaly to the usual judicial
in other words, they suspect there may be some perversion of justice.
Certainly,
in this case.
And the court hearing the case, and it's instructive to note that one of the main reasons why the presiding judge, Gertrude Tokono, struck out the case was that legal representatives for Justice Derry were not in court. And if this is anything to go by,
it means that they were not expecting to be in court.
Certainly, they were not even aware that the case was being heard. So it will be interesting to see what
how this pans out.
Certainly.
Well, thank you very much, Kwacha Freynuama. We're taking a break on Joy News Prime. We'll be back with more stories. Please don't go away. You're watching Joy News Prime, and the police administration is under fire for allegedly allowing itself to be used by the government to stop public demonstrations to demand for a new voters register. That accusation is coming from the Let My Vote Count Alliance, the pro-opposition pressure group, which claims that the general elections next year would be a sham without a new electoral roll. The group's plan to take to the street for the second time in as many weeks were foiled by a court injunction secured by the police late Monday afternoon.
Tuesday morning, the day members of the Let My Vote Count Alliance had planned to take to the streets for the second time to demand a new voters register. The protesters are nowhere to be found, but the police are out in full force. The alliance members say they chose to be law-abiding citizens and obeyed the last-minute injunction secured by the police against their demonstration. But are the officers of the Electoral Commission the end point of the planned demonstration? Police were deployed to prevent the demonstrators from using the area as a convergence point. In securing the injunction against the demonstration, lawyers representing the police had argued in court that they were so logistically constrained and that they could not just marshal officers to provide security for the demonstrators. The fact that such large numbers of police officers were deployed at the EC offices came as little surprise to the alliance leaders, who accused the police administration of allowing itself to be used by the government to stifle a legitimate public protest.
We know it's an authority. This is something the Electoral Commission, under normal circumstances and as part of their modus operandi, would hardly have done or would hardly do. Members and senior members of the Commission, as I speak to you now, are out of the country. So really, there is a calculated attempt and premeditated move by the states through the various state agencies and players to frustrate this whole attempt to present a petition to demand a new voters register. It makes us more curious. And as for the security services, plain decision to brutalize civilians, only hoping to go to the commission to present a document to demand a new voters register, that makes us more curious.
So your petition is dead?
It is not dead. It is still in our files, and we will make sure we present it. But presenting the petition must be done in a lawful manner. That is how come we have decided to abide and strictly stick to the court's order.
And
we
are getting to put out the petition.
As I speak to you now, it's early days yet to decide, but whichever way, we will find the lawful and legitimate ways and means to hand over the petition to the commissioner.
Meanwhile, leaders of the Let My Vote Count Alliance are due to meet later this week to decide on the next line of action. Top on the agenda would be a possible suit at the Supreme Court for a legal interpretation of the Public Order Act and how and when it can be used by the police as a preemptive measure to stop or force the postponement of demonstrations.
Well, Occupy Ghana has issued a press release on the use of the ex-parte motion. It essentially condemns the use of the ex-parte, or what it describes as the abuse of the ex-parte motion by the police to stop the expression of free speech by these demonstrators. And I read a bit of the statement to you. It says, "We condemn these acts of the police in no uncertain terms. The time has come for the police to show to Ghanaians that it exists to serve all of us and not just to protect the interests of those in power. This clearly unconstitutional scuttling of a right guaranteed by the Constitution and reaffirmed by the Supreme Court ought to stop and stop immediately. We do not need yet another Supreme Court pronouncement on these shenanigans and pranks engaged in by our police service. The top hierarchy of the police has to keep faith with the people of this country and abandon these clear unlawful acts. Further, our courts have to stand and protect our constitutional rights and resist this repeated abuse of its processes and machinery as a tool of oppression of the citizens of the land, the ultimate repository of all power." Now, in a related development, the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, IPAC, is due to meet on Wednesday to discuss the way forward in the raging debate for or against the new voters register. National Youth Organizer of the New Patriotic Party, Sami Wuku, is looking forward to a decision that will favor his party.
The Rainbow Coalition was to support the political parties in this coalition with the evidence that we've been able to gather since we didn't get the opportunity to submit our petition. I also expect a very grueling session because we're talking about the future of a country, and it's something we cannot toy with. I want the political parties, whether for or against the new voters register, to come out with strong and concrete argument. Not just to convince the Electoral Commissioner, but to convince the Commission and convince the Ghanaian people. I believe the PPP has done that. I believe the New Patriotic Party has done that. I believe the NDP has done that. And I believe that ODK's party has done that. And the other civil society. I am yet to be convinced by the proposal of the NDC and that of the PNC. The PNC's own is still shaky because it's divided. Some believe even there should be a new voters register. Others believe that the status quo should remain. And even those who are even saying that the the status quo should remain. The NDC admits that the electoral register is flawed. What they are saying is we should audit or we should clean it.
We're staying with the police, and the administration says it will not be pressured to release its investigative report on the recruitment scam earlier this year. An initial probe implicated top cops, including the Director of Human Resources, DCOP Patrick Timbila. He has since been placed on interdiction as a more detailed investigation is undertaken. But more than 6 months after the scandal broke, little more has been heard. Rose Bio Atenga is Police Director General in charge of administration.
We have submitted the docket to the law office. In addition to that, our internal disciplinary procedure is ongoing. And as you are aware, it takes time to conduct service inquiry.
So far, what have your preliminary investigations revealed regarding what he did?
He is facing an inquiry. That is what is ongoing. The docket, the criminal aspect is with the law office. They will decide on the next line of action.
But obviously, before you submitted the report to the next institution or agent to investigate, you had found something. What did you find?
And that is what is before the service inquiry.
You don't want to reveal what you found?
The inquiry will disclose whether Mr. Patrick Timbila has misconducted himself or otherwise. Since it's before an inquiry, I wouldn't want to go further. I also want to assure those who believe we are covering somebody that that is not the line of thinking of the Ghana Police Service. We have had time, we've had incidents during which our personnel have gone through similar procedures. When they were found guilty, the law took its course. Those who face criminal justice are in prison. So they should rest assured that the police administration will do what it has been mandated to do.
Well, the Interior Ministry is planning to establish an independent commission to investigate public complaints against police officers. Sector Minister Mark Oyongo told a news conference in Accra on Tuesday the commission will help make the police service more accountable. Though the initiative has once been proposed, Tuesday's announcement follows a directive from President Mahama for the police to investigate recent brutalities meted out to protesters with the Let My Vote Count Alliance.
The Ministry, together with the Police Management Board and other civil society organizations, has initiated the process of establishing an independent police complaints commission to oversee complaints against the police and officers. This is with the active support of civil society organizations. It is our considered opinion that the establishment of this commission would provide the police with the required robust and functionally independent and accountability mechanism in line with international best practices and standards. This would make the police more accountable for their actions and inactions. The ministry has also signed a contract with Ahui Communication Services Limited, a subsidiary of China Communication Services International, to carry out feasibility studies on the introduction of CCTV cameras on roads in Ghana to help the police maintain discipline on our roads and reduce crime, which is also at no cost to government. The Interception of Postal Packet and Telecommunication Messages Bill, sponsored by the ministry, has been placed before Cabinet for approval. The object of this bill is to enact legislation for lawful interception of postal packet and telecommunication messages for the purpose of fighting crime, suppressing organized crime, including money laundering, terrorism, narcotics trafficking.
You're watching Joy News Prime. Coming up in business, the IMF has a warning for Ghana about its borrowing. We'll bring you that after this break. Time now for business, and Abigail Aduma Trace here. Good evening to you, Abigail.
Good evening, Israel.
All right, so all this while, people have been concerned about the rate at which government is borrowing and piling our debts, and yet government keeps on assuring us that everything is fine and you should be okay. Apparently, IMF says...
What do you expect from government to tell you that everything is not fine? Well, there are implications, of course, and we would get that in details in a business.
All right.
Okay, so we'll start with the IMF, and the IMF is warning Ghana might have some challenges over moves to continue borrowing more funds on the international market. Government has indicated that it will borrow from countries outside as part of plans to free up the local funds for businesses. Responding to a question posed by Joy Business at a press conference in Washington, D.C. to launch the fund's Global Financial Stability Report, one of the lead authors, Selim Elegdag, explained the current development could see demand for Ghana's bonds decline sharply.
The implications of bond issuance and corporate leverage are, just as we noted earlier, that the factors behind this uptrend that we saw. We mentioned earlier that across emerging markets, major emerging markets, the stock of debt has increased from 4 trillion to 18 trillion over the last decade. We found that the primary drivers were global factors, the external conditions, the low interest rates that we mentioned amid the very favorable monetary conditions across systemic advanced economies, commodity prices, and also investors searching for yield opportunities. Now, for countries like Ghana and other emerging markets more broadly, the key risk is a reversal of these exceptionally favorable global financial conditions. And in this context, these emerging markets should prepare for tightening global financial conditions.
They should in particular prepare for higher interest rates, for possible problems in in rolling over the debt, and possibly for depreciation of their local currencies as U.S. interest rates rise. So the combination of these factors may make it more difficult for firms to finance the debt. Now again, we did not conduct a country-by-country analysis, but these are the general lessons that we draw from our analysis.
Let's do something interesting on tourism, and tourism has been one of the main drivers of some economies in the Africa. But how has recent terrorist attacks in the eastern part of Africa affected tourist arrivals and revenues from tourism? Well, I visited Kenya's Fort Jesus, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, to find out how this development is affecting them.
Mombasa, the second largest city in Kenya, is one of Kenya's historical landmarks, Fort Jesus. It is part of the reasons Mombasa remains an important regional tourism center in Kenya, coupled with its situation on the Indian Ocean.
Fort Jesus is the only fort in Kenya, and here in Mombasa it is a site that really attracts a lot of tourists. Now, I'm told that this particular fort was built by the Portuguese, and they employed 4,000 locals who were paid through food. And interestingly, it is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, just like Elmina and Cape Coast castles.
The Portuguese built the fort between 1593 and 1596 over a spur of coral rock to protect the port of Mombasa, which played an important role in the control of trade along the Indian Ocean basin. The Portuguese, however, could only keep the fort under their control for 1 century.
Their ruling was very rash and cruel, and they were destroying things in this old town, so there could not be friendship with Swahili. That's why they decided to go to Malindi, which is 99 kilometers north coast of Mombasa. So when they reached Malindi, they were welcomed with a king who was named hence Malindi, with Swahili of Malindi, so that they can come and fight the Mombasa people, and also they wanted to control this Indian Ocean. That's why you'll find the Vasco da Gama and the first church was in Malindi.
In spite of the fort's rich history, Mawiya Ahmed Abdul Rahim, a tour guide who has worked here in the past 9 years, says the number of tourists who troop to the site has dwindled. Many may attribute this to insecurity following the actions by militant groups in Kenya recently, but Rahim cites other factors.
I used to see a lot of tourists last 4 years back, but nowadays no tourists. It used to be more than 30 to 35 cars, so you can see the difference now.
In a day?
A day, yeah. Now, but now you can see the things are worse. only you can find maybe 4, 6, 7 cars, and we are guide here more than 30 guide. So we get a big problem on this. And I don't know why. It's not only about insecurity in Kenya. That is not the major problem. This problem is all over the world. So I think maybe in some site, history site, according to our World Animal Lives, the prices are very high. That the corruption which is here, that's the major thing which makes our tourism flop.
Non-residents pay 1,200 shillings equivalent to $12, while residents pay 600 shillings as entry fees to the fort. The reduction in the entry of tourists here has hugely affected revenues, according to officials who spoke off camera. Ghana's forts and castles, unlike that of Kenya, may not be experiencing a lull in tourist activities, but this could only be a wake-up call for the country to develop its tourist sites before similar negative development hits the country. Abigail Adomakoenchi for Joy News. The government is working with some large companies to harness the economic potential of oil palm production. Agric Minister Fifi Kwete revealed this at the Africa Sustainable Palm Oil Forum in Accra today.
The Africa Sustainable Palm Oil Forum, which aims at achieving a prosperous palm oil industry, brought together local players in the sector. The forum, among other issues discussed, ways to improve production of palm oil and sustain productivity. President of Oil Palm Development Association in Ghana, Samuel Avala, tells Joy Business the forum seeks to help smallholders with best practices in order to improve productivity.
There is a planting material that is raised in institutions like the Oil Palm Research Institute, that when you plant, you have the guarantee that you will get the right kind of responses in terms of productivity and yields from the palm or the tree. There is a certain number of times you must weed around. There is a way you should manage the canopy of the palm, because the fruits will be formed up there and it has to be visible for harvesting. And when this is not well managed, a bunch gets right up there, but the harvester cannot see it, so it gets rotten there, and therefore it amounts to losses.
Agric Minister Fifi Kwete says forums such as this will help facilitate the uptake of sustainability in the palm oil sector in Ghana.
Massive.
And that will be all for business. My name is Abigail Adomakoenchi. For more business news, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business.
You're watching Joy News Prime, and we have in the last 24 hours been telling you on this network about the shabby treatment meted out to members of the national women's football team, the Black Queens. Much of it is in connection with government's failure to pay them the allowances, even after they won gold at the just ended All Africa Games in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Well, there's been a major development on that story, and sports correspondent Benedict Owusu joins me with more. In fact, award-winning sports journalist Benedict Owusu is here. Good evening to you, Benedict. So, have the bonuses been paid?
Well, as it stands now, what is happening? The girls have been given $5,000.
They have, so they have actually been paid.
Yeah, they've been given $5,000 cash.
Now, is that money coming from the GFA or from...
Okay, the money is coming from government. Well, you can't say if that money is coming from the Youth and Sports Ministry, but it's coming from government. What happened was, this afternoon, the management members of the team went to the Flagstaff House. Apparently, the president has heard all that was going on. He was really embarrassed. So in a telephone conversation with the management members and some members at the Flagstaff House, the president noted out to them clearly that he's heard everything that is going on and is really embarrassed at the situation, and that the girls must be given $5,000 each. This has got nothing to do with the allowances, has got nothing to do with winning gold, but the girls should be given $5,000 and go home. When he returns from the US, he will call the girls, sit them down, so that the girls will tell him, Mr. President, this and this and this is what we need, and he will give to them.
Well, that's impressive. Yeah, so what are the queens saying about it? Have they accepted it? Have they left the hotel?
Obviously, if we've been at the hotel just for $2,000, you will be happy that, first, is coming from the president that just take this money. This has nothing to do with your bonuses. It has nothing to do with qualifying to the competition. Just take this and go. When I come, I'll call you. You should be happy.
So it's not that, and in this case, it's not a case where they promise that they're going to get the money. They've actually been given the money.
Yeah, they've been given the money. They've all been given 5,000 cash. As the time I was leaving the hotel, all the girls had received their monies. And obviously, they can't go home. So they've been asked to stay at the hotel. Tomorrow, God willing, they can leave.
Right, that's some good news.
Yes, some good news.
Thank you very much, Benedict.
Always a pleasure.
Up to speed on the bonus row, the Black Queen's bonus row. Now, let's introduce you to a very beautiful and strong woman, 23-year-old Enam Honya. Is a graduate nurse who is fast losing the pigment of her skin to a rare disease known as vitiligo. That makes her look different on the outside, but on the inside, she's proving to be a woman of strength who has vowed never to let her condition get her down. She has started a campaign to inspire those with a skin condition that is gradually changing her appearance.
The melanin gives us our skin color, but in this case, there is a destruction of it, leading to the white patches.
When did you realize your skin color was changing?
Well, that was when I was a kid, 12 years. Initially, it just occurred at my left arm, just a patch, and we thought it was a birthmark. Some people specify it to so many things, like bangs, acid, witchcraft, a lot of things. So we went beyond to actually know what it was. My great auntie was having vitiligo. So my vitiligo is a hereditary or genetic type, and my brother, the one I'm following directly,
Is he as brave as you are?
No, he's always shy. He's always down. But seeing me with all those difficulties and challenges, and when he realized his first patch, oh my, you don't want to know. I don't know, he felt so depressed and all. Yeah. Going to school, let me say, my JHS and my SHS was a very terrible experience, because at the beginning, the acceptance was not there. People don't have the idea to what vitiligo is, so they stigmatize a lot about it. They don't want to accept, as saying you walk into a classroom, your mate doesn't want to sit beside you, your mate doesn't want to shake hands with you, or even when it's break time or break hours, you not see me hanging around with them, because they are all afraid. They do stigmatize, say a lot of things about it. To be a nurse wasn't what I want to be, but growing up and then looking at the challenges, I decided to switch to nursing.
What did you want to be initially?
Yeah, I wanted to be a model and a TV presenter, but while growing up and then the acceptance wasn't there, I began to have that inferiority complex that, okay, you can't make it. This skin is not going to hold you for a TV presenter or whatever. So I switched to nursing. I wanted to know more health-wise. I wanted to research. I wanted to know within my territory what actually is happening to me, what actually is vitiligo, what actually it is that you feel so depressed, you feel so psychological down. You know, growing up, looking at my experience, my challenges, I was like, okay, if someone will also be like this and feel more depressed, feel more down to the extent of going to commit suicide and all that, okay, I'm not going to use any cosmetic, I'm not going to use anything, I'm just going to be like this in order to educate, in order to inspire someone out there, because at the moment we don't have data on individuals with vitiligo in Ghana Health Service, the data of Ghana Health Service.
Brave, and we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll bring you international news. Burkina Faso's army has surrounded the barracks of the Presidential Guard in the capital, accusing them of failing to lay down their arms following their short-lived coup. The international airport has been shut, an aviation source said, amid fears of violence. A former foreign minister has also been arrested in connection with the coup. The Presidential Guard ceded power last Wednesday after the army opposed the coup they staged a week earlier. The African Union says a special court will be set up to try war crime suspects in South Sudan, which has been hit by brutal conflict since 2013. The move is aimed at promoting an African solution to the conflict in the world's youngest state, which became independent in 2011. An inquiry has found that both government and rebel forces have committed atrocities, the AU added. Despite the signing of a peace deal last month, conflict has continued. Saudi officials have denied reports that more than 1,000 people were killed in a stampede near Mecca last week while undertaking the Hajj pilgrimage. A Nigerian official told the BBC the bodies of 1,075 victims had been taken to mortuaries in the city of Jeddah, higher than the official toll of 769. Other countries also said they had been sent the photos of some 1,090 bodies. But the Saudi officials said the photos included unidentified people who died at the Hajj, not just in the stampede. Spokesman Major General Mansour al-Turki told the Associated Press that some were foreign nationals who lived in Saudi Arabia and carried out the Hajj without the required permits. And that's it for international news. Entertainment is next. Right, you're welcome to Entertainment Now. And Miss G, good evening to you.
Good evening, Easy.
Right, so just last weekend we were talking about, you know, the celebrity wedding.
Oh, yes.
And then yesterday we were talking about a celebrity wedding, but now it's like actually a celebrity wedding, or you can call it
royal wedding.
Celebrity royal wedding.
You know, and of course it's now confirmed the next month we have Nana and Sako and then Gifty Auntie Time the North next month, and so it's a royal wedding.
I'm imagining the kind of invitations that are going to come.
I can't wait to receive mine.
Nana,
I can't wait to receive mine, you know. I can't actually wait to receive mine. I can't afford to miss that wedding.
All right, so let's start with the book bag.
No, Bukom Banku is rather the one we're starting with. So ahead of his performance at this year's Joy FM Schools Reunion, boxer, comedian, now musician Barima Kamoko, popularly known as Bukom Banku, has disclosed why he dropped out of junior secondary school, Accra Royal, in Form 1.
Not go to school before. It be my English. If it's having me talk English, when I talk, you don't hear. If you hear, I don't care. I'm not a graduate. I'm not a student. I'm not a university. Only bossing and music. Bankueva. And now I go to school. Me, I don't know book inside very much. You always teacher want to beat me. Now I'm a good fighter, and the time teacher take care to come and beat me, I'm also given the 3 punches. But they sacked me on the school. That time I did from 1. JSS 1, but in learning, I don't know book inside.
Okay, so that's why Banku didn't come.
And that's exactly, that's what you get.
Well,
he beat your teacher.
He only knows how to box, you know, and that's what he's doing now.
If you beat your teacher, who's going to teach you?
I'm sure he discovered his talents after that day. But
you're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. We'll be back with sports, and Gary R. Smith is around to give us the sports. time for sports, and Gary Smith is here. Good evening to you, Gary.
Good evening, Israel.
All right, so we've had good news on the Black Queens bonus right. Turns out the president is giving them the $5,000.
Yeah.
$5,000. Just take this
$5,000. Cash, man.
You take it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm worried about it.
Take it, mate.
The Queens.
Take it, mate.
I'm worried about the Queens and where they're going to be keeping the money until, you know, if they get out of the
see, when money is delivered fresh from nature God, there's no problem, man.
You're so funny, guys.
Anyway, so probably, I'm thinking they can't leave tonight because most of them live outside Accra. So they'll find accommodation, and especially at the hotel, probably for one more night. $5,000. I'm sure they can pay $100 each. You know,
they should take you out.
Yes, for
you
the job. You know. So yeah, I'm very happy for them. But they have outstanding bonuses now of 23,000 minus this 5,000. So yeah, it has to be sorted out. But I'm really happy for them. Although the question remains: does the president have to intervene in everything in this country?
That's a 1,000 CD question.
Thank you very much. At least that will be done in cities. Hello, my name is Gary Smith, and this is the sports. First of all, we'll do the Black Queens in a bit, but today was a big day at the Ghana Football Association, election day time, and so some elected members of the GFA have showed appreciation to delegates for the trust reposed in them. Today was the day that 4 members were put on the executive committee of the Ghana Football Association from Division 1, and another 6 came from the Ghana Premier League.
I'm excited, not very excited, because I see it as a challenge ahead of us. After election, there is work ahead of you. I will therefore thank God, thank Nanando Mahini, and thank my management members who came down from Doma to give me support. It has shown their love for me and the club. I thank everyone, especially the media. They took nothing from me, but they gave me support that I needed. And I owe them great of gratitude, and I don't think I'll fail in that regard.
Just to say thank you again, I just want to say, for me, I believe in God, and I think that it is not by power, not by might. It is God who has done this, because I know that God installs kings. Having said that, I think that we all have track records, everybody has confidence in you, and I believe that the trust and confidence having what you do in your daily activities is another thing that people look at. And then, you know, the way you interact with people, I believe that, and what people think you can do, I think that's what I think that, if you ask me, that has contributed to this success. And the only thing I can say that I'm not going to disappoint anybody.
All right, so that's how we wrap up the bulletin. We go with a recap of our top stories. One court has struck out a contempt suit brought by judges implicated in the judicial corruption scandal against investigative journalists Anas Aremia, Anas and others. Now, 6 months after the interdiction of its director of human resource in a police recruitment scam, the police administration says it is taking its time with investigations into the scandal and will not allow itself to be rushed. In business, International Monetary Fund has cautioned Ghana and other emerging economies against excessive borrowing as it could prove suicidal. And President Mahama has intervened in the Black Queens bonus round and ordered the payment of $5,000 each to members of the female soccer team. And on that note, that's it for the bulletin. My name is Israel. Thank you very much for watching. On behalf of the entire team, have a good evening.
This is Joy News Prime.